All right, we have Jenny and Kane here for a very special episode of WASD. And behind the camera, it's Paul over there. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Let's get down to it. Guys, special thanks to Corsair. They're the reason that we're here. Be sure to check out all of our coverage, and you can enter to win a Scimitar mouse. Just go ahead and click on the screen to see our Corsair video. Good luck in winning the Scimitar MMO gaming mouse. That is delicious. So I'm drinking, I feel this is appropriate. I'm drinking some stuff from Warhorse Studios. They partner with a brewery down the street from them, and I have nowhere to put this. So
that was part of the Kickstarter, actually.
Yeah. I mean, we probably could talk about Gamescom a little bit as well, but we're not going to. We're going to stick to PAX, and what we're going to do in this video is talk about a lot of the games that we played. It's impossible to interview everybody that we meet. It just doesn't work. So we just started playing them, and now we're going to talk about a few of them. So let's just jump right in and start talking about them. What do we have first here on the list?
Okay, so the first thing was this kind of ridiculous game that we just wandered up to, and the guy was like, hey, you can play this. And we're like, Logan, you can play this. It's called Barkley 2, an RPG playing as Charles Barkley.
They made $120,000 out of their pledged $35,000 goal. So what we need to do is we need to find maybe Dennis Rodman, because he has, a lot of flair like Barkley, and we need to make Rodman the post-apocalyptic side-scrolling, game where he shoots purple lasers out of his head or something. Kickstarter gold, right? So how'd you like the game?
Me?
Well, he played it.
Oh, you played it.
You played it. No, you played it.
Then I had no idea I was playing it.
It was the,
Go back to that because I don't remember this at all.
It was the apocalyptic thing. I just closed it. It was the apocalyptic game that kind of looked like a top-down version of Fallout meets Battletoads. And first thing we played.
I remember.
Not memorable at all.
I remember you playing it, and I remember what it looked like. But I was standing there like the joke was a little lost on me because I don't really know who Charles Barkley is.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me rewind here. This is the one where I was messing around with the guns?
Yeah. So in that game, you could... This one.
Oh, see, that makes more sense, because those graphics did not mess me up. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. I just remember the dude with the football... I'm sorry, with the basketball head with the mohawk that put it on for us, who was working there.
Yeah.
This game was interesting. Okay, I do now. I do remember this. I do. I just didn't know that's what it was called. Like, at all. I didn't know what it was called. What was kind of neat about this was the guns. You get up, you find random guns and bits and pieces out when you're running around in this kind of zone, and then you can take them back and melt them down for bullets.
You can also mutate them, right?
Mutate them. You merge them together to make better guns. But
it's like a gun biology game. If that's the future of America.
Otherwise, it was very controller. One of these things, controller-oriented.
Did they give you an Xbox controller?
They did. Everybody gave me an Xbox.
We need to start judging games on, which games give you an Xbox, which ones give you a PS4, and which ones give you something that you've never seen before. Almost all are Xbox.
Most of them are Xbox. No, what really annoys me is that they'll start telling me, I'm like, I've got the controller in my hand, and I'm just kind of goofing and whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, hit A, and I hit B because I'm a Super NES guy, so A and B backwards, the X. Anyway, that
happened to me every time too.
That was kind of annoying. No, otherwise it was kind of neat. It's standard dual joystick controls. One moves you around, the other one aims your gun, and then you fire, and then you switch weapons. You can switch guns, and it was neat.
Looking forward to it. Yes and no is too definite. 1 through 10, how much are you looking forward to this? We'll do this on each game.
I will play the game if somebody buys it for me. I wouldn't buy the game.
So you're looking forward to it, maybe like a 4, right?
Yeah, 3.5, 4. Yeah,
All right.
4 out of 10. 4. Yeah.
All right. That's not... Okay, anyway. That's just how much you're personally looking forward to. That doesn't have anything to do with the quality.
It was cool. I liked some of the elements in it. I could see them being used for other things. It was a nice concept. I can't believe it was Kickstarted.
It's that ridiculous. I'm telling you, dude, it's just... The amount of ridiculous... I don't know.
I think it was kind of like a cotton candy game or like a popcorn game. So it's not something you're gonna... To me, it's like, it's not something you're gonna sit and dedicate hours to playing through the game and getting really emotionally attached to it. It's going to be something that you do in like 25-minute munchy bites when you get home from work or school or whatever, and you just need something to like reset your brain.
Could be wrong, could be so engrossing that... anyway, this next one is for you, actually. It's Zing. It's a first-person puzzle adventure game. Go ahead and introduce
Yeah,
this one.
so Zing, first-person puzzle adventure game, very pretty game. It has a very interesting kind of a Myst feel to it. It's not immediately apparent in the environments what you're supposed to be doing. There isn't a lot of direction given. You get little pieces of the story as you go along, and I like that. Oops, sorry.
That's all right. I won't do much. No one's watching anyway.
I didn't like... I did like that there was a element of self-discovery on it. What I didn't like about it was that I got to play it on the Oculus, and they are developing it to interface with the Oculus, but also with traditional PC controllers, which I will probably buy this game because I love puzzle games, and there aren't really a lot of good ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
And but I probably won't use it with Oculus. I'd prefer to just have a keyboard and mouse.
At first look at this game, it reminded me of Myst as well, and also I got to sit down and play it a little bit, but not with the Oculus. For me, Myst and also Talos Principle reminded me of that one. So if you guys have played that game, it's a newer game. It kind of reminded me of that as well, and we'll just have to see. They said that, in talking to one of the developers, she was saying that part of the puzzles will be solved by your ability to manipulate day and night cycle, and also the weather. So it'll be cool to see how that develops and what you can do by maybe like manipulating the day and night time, and then like, oh, something's totally different at nighttime in the same location, and hey, if I change the weather, oh my god, the rain washed this away, and now there's a new element to the puzzle that we didn't know before. So I don't know, but it looked kind of cool. And a lot of the games that we did play were games that you need to kind of sit down and get into, and so PAX was a rough environment for that.
Yeah, this one, 10 minutes with it was barely enough to whet your palate or really get through the puzzles of the first environment that they put you in. It just kind of timed out arbitrarily at 10 minutes wherever you were, it was over. And I'm a very kind of slow explorer in games, so I didn't really feel like I made much progress, but it was enough to make me interested in purchasing it when it comes out.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing I'm going to say about the rest of these games, look at the list, and I was like, there's no AAA games on this list. If that's what you care about, just keep watching for us.
Somebody made a comment when we were talking about some games last time we were talking about games in general, and they were like, are you guys going to talk about something that I've actually heard of? It's like, no, because if you've heard of it, there's no reason to talk about it.
I mean, we can give you our opinions on it and that sort of thing, but the point of what we're doing here is we're covering games that most media just completely ignores or misses or doesn't care about, because we personally want to look at those. We're not interested in getting a million hits because we're doing the same Fallout 4 story. So that's why we're looking at some of these more esoteric games that we would enjoy, because they are very, they're very, I guess, nuanced for a certain type of person, and we're going to try to show that to you guys, because you guys are nuanced and special. You snowflakes!
And we also believe in helping out indie developers that we think have a lot of talent, so...
Which brings us to our next group. These guys from Norway.
Oh, Antagonist Games.
Yep.
Really interesting stuff.
I didn't get to play this game, which upsets me, but I got to stand and watch both of you guys play this, and I watched a few others play it while you were playing, and I was recording all of this wonderful stuff. But when we were talking to the dev and we started talking about where the inspiration for the game came from is what really grabbed my attention on this one, because it's a lot of, again, AAA titles and a lot of your indie stuff, especially a lot of stuff here in the States. It's the background and the inspiration is either games we've already played, other concepts and ideas that are all ingrained into our life as being from the U.S. But these guys were like, no, we pretty much pulled this right out of Norwegian folklore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, in this game, you are wandering through the woods looking for your lost son. You're not sure where he is. And in the game, there are some supernatural creatures. You're in the woods. It's the middle of the night. You have a flashlight, and it is freaking dark. This is another game that we really needed to... I really need to play this in a dark room at home, not in a busy room like that. But
so many distractions. It was really hard.
The atmosphere was there. The sound designer went into the middle of the woods for a few days and camped out and recorded all the sound effects that you hear. Most of the artwork is totally custom, and it's a really pretty game, a very creepy game. It's all about the atmosphere. Through playing the game, the one thing that I found was a bit weird was that it felt somewhat linear. There are multiple paths that you can take at certain points where it's like, hey, there's a troll that way, and maybe you need to figure out a different way to go or a different way to solve this. But I felt like I was confined a little bit in the sense that I'm in the middle of the woods, and you kind of you can't go over this little hill here. You have to kind of go through this path, which I guess that would make it a little bit difficult to play. They basically built a nice area for you to go through. But I kind of wish I could go anywhere in the woods because that would be really creepy, not getting lost. I think
Did you notice that after the wind blew really hard, some areas that you couldn't move through before had been knocked over, and then you could go like climb over them? So for a little while there's these cabins, super creepy, that you have to like kind of fish through, try to find clues. And so while I was in one of the cabins, the wind blew really hard, and it unlatched a gate that I previously could not push open. And then suddenly that gate was swinging with the wind, and then I could walk through it. So I think that...
I wonder if there's another way you could have knocked it open, but it's kind of cool that the wind affects the world.
Yeah, and you hear the wind, and it's real, forest wind. There's no way to really imitate those sounds that they made. And the developer said that they went out camping in the woods in Norway for 4 days and captured all that. So they brought the elements of their environment into the game in the design, which I think is really fantastic.
Norway, I'd do that.
Pro tip: if you read Nordic runes, you'll have a great advantage at this game.
Yes, they did mention that there were some. These are Nordic runes as save points, but they have these mysterious runes all over the island, or all over the island, all over the forest. Anyway, another game that we need to sit down and play more to really get a full grasp on. I'm like 7 out of 10 looking forward to that one. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like 8 out of 10 gonna buy that.
I'm not sure if I'm going to buy it, but I'm really looking forward to see how it is. I don't know.
It's going to be out beginning of next year.
I'm going to get it.
Yeah, you're going to get it?
Yeah.
Probably going to get it. I don't know. All right, what's next on the list?
When I find time to play it.
This is the Sublevel Zero Flight Sim.
This is... Okay, it's Descent. I'm sorry. This is Descent made in the UK. How else can you put it? It's a procedurally generated single-player game that is Descent. They're using Unity with a totally custom shader package. And I don't know, the art style is, it's new, but it's also slightly retro, and they use pixels for the explosions and that sort of thing. So, Kane, you played this. How does it feel? I mean, I played it a little bit too, but I was having a bit of control.
Graphically, it was very simple, and I think that was just because they put something together to show off at the show. But the weapon arrangement I thought was really neat. They have 2 primaries and 2 secondaries, and you can see them on the side of your ship, and you can switch between the 2, and then you switch between your missile launchers, and that was kind of neat. But it's also in that roguelike buzzword, you only live once.
Yeah, so you only live once, and the game is procedural. So the way they've done the procedural generation is they've created several different rooms and several different styles, and then they kind of put them together. So you will recognize areas, but, the way that they're pieced together will be different each time. I hope that there's multiplayer. That's what I like Descent for. The single player was a lot of fun, but it needs multiplayer. And there are some other games out there that are coming out. This one, it felt so much, as far as the movement of the ship and everything, felt so much like Descent that it was a bit weird.
Yeah, that was...
It was almost uncanny. Like they played Descent, and then they went back into their game and tried to match it, and then they played some more Descent, and they were like, does it match? Does it match? Yes, the movement matches. So that's what I felt like might have happened, but I could be totally wrong. I don't know.
I'm looking forward to what they are going to do with it.
Well, I've been craving, what's the freedom, 4 dimensions of freedom?
How
do they say in Descent? What was their marketing buzz?
They just called it 360 3D, 6 degrees of freedom.
6 degrees of freedom, that's what it was. I'm looking forward to a game like that because the FPS, they're still tied to the ground, so it'd be cool.
Yeah.
And it's been a while. All right, what's next?
The next game is Albert and Otto. I don't think either one of you played this. I played it, and it was interesting because they had it running through the Shield consoles with Shield controllers. It was the only game I played that didn't have an Xbox controller.
Yeah.
Which was refreshing because I feel like the Shield controllers are a lot more intuitive than Xbox controllers. I had trouble every single game because I don't know Xbox controllers, so I'm like looking at the buttons going, what am I doing?
There's far too many Xbox controllers.
Albert and Otto is a side-scrolling puzzler, and it's done with silhouettes, like the most simple art design ever.
Like, what's that game that everyone pointed at it and said, oh, it's just like... Limbo, yeah.
Okay.
Everyone called it like, oh, it's the game like Limbo. That was what everyone kept calling it, but I don't think the gameplay was quite the same.
Art styling, I think, maybe.
Art styling, yeah.
That's what it reminds people of.
It reminded me a lot of Valiant Hearts. The puzzles were very similar. You're moving things around in your environment so you can climb up onto the next thing, undo the next latch, what have you. I had a lot of trouble with the aiming and shooting feature, and this was kind of interesting. It's a story about a little boy looking for his sister. He has a shotgun. Okay. It might be a little, I don't know, it kind of threw me. It's like, it feels like a child's game, but it's a child with a shotgun. So I don't know.
So a child from, like, Kentucky.
A child from Kentucky. It's a game about a boy from Kentucky.
I think my first time I ever shot a gun was about 11 years old. They gave me a 30-06. And I said, try this. And I shot it and dropped it, and they all laughed.
I love Grandpappy's old stories. So fun.
I thought it was hilarious.
Anyway, Albert Nato, Paul sat down and played some, and so I watched him play. The trouble I had with the aiming was that you needed to aim with the right joystick and fire with the right trigger at the same time, and you couldn't just like already have the gun aimed and shoot again, because every shot he has to stop and he reloads. Is painful, takes a long time, and then pull it back up and try to aim and shoot again. I'm terrible with controllers. It was bad. I died a lot.
I wonder if they're going to make did you ask them if they were going to make a mouse and keyboard version, or if it's only going to be...
Yeah, it's going to have a mouse and keyboard version.
Well, there you go. That'll be much easier.
But I had trouble. I actually got to play the finished game. If you guys go and look online, what you'll find is their demo from last year, but they actually do have this game finished. I believe it's coming out in October. And the trouble I had is actually with the art style. You can't see white on white against each other to figure out where something has to go or what part of your environment you can actually engage with and what you can't, because everything is the same tonality. So you don't know what's something you can climb, what's something you have to shoot, what's something you can grab onto, because it all is identical.
Hey, but it's a lot easier for the art department.
That's part of the puzzle.
That's part of the puzzle.
Like, they'll never guess this part.
Yeah, really. So probably a 5 for me on that, even though I love puzzler games. I'm not...
All right, Raise the Dead.
Raise the Dead.
This one looked ridiculous, so I kind of backed away from it because I was like, another zombie game that's bright and colorful, but you played it.
It was ridiculously fun.
Was it?
Raise the Dead is cool. You're like, I forget what they called it, but it's kind of like you're God, you're Ray, and you go back in time and see bits of Ray's life when he was still alive before he was a zombie. But as a zombie, he can bring back people from the dead. He can resurrect them after he kills them. And so you can actually build yourself a little army of zombie minions that you send out to do your bidding in all these little environments. So if you need... So one of the things I had to do is dig 3 holes at the same time, and each one of those holes knocked down a pillar, and all the pillars had to be knocked down simultaneously in order to knock down a thing that you could climb up on. So you have all these little minion zombies sent out to go dig in the holes, and I loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I found it very engaging and stimulating. The art is goofy. It is super goofy, but it's not as cutesy as some of the others we saw.
It's dark and silly. Is he smoking a cigarette?
He is smoking a cigarette. And the funny thing is he's like a kid on a school bus when he gets turned into a zombie. So I'm really like he's like the bad kid who smoked in the bathroom on the back of the bus.
I only looked at that one, but they seem like zombie bobbleheads.
Zombie bobbleheads.
They're like
zobbleheads, yeah.
They're like bobbleheading around. I don't know. Okay, so you played the next 2, Ghost Song and Death's Gambit.
All right, well, Death's Gambit is the game that I'm looking forward to the most out of everything that we saw at the show. And actually, the Adult Swim booth, I thought, had the most interesting games. So the guys working at Adult Swim who are choosing the games. I mean, Adult Swim usually is like, comedy, dark comedy, off-color comedy, weird comedy. These are not all comedy games, but they're trying to hit the same audience. Like the more mature, intelligent, quirky audience who, want a game that's fun, has teeth, and also is going to, give them a nice, a nice experience. That's the same thing as fun, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, Ghost Song is Metroid. It's just Metroid. It looks like Metroid. It plays like Metroid. I didn't get to... The developer wasn't there, so I'm not sure if it's procedurally generated or not. I forget. I need to talk to the developer. We should call Angie. And find out more about that game. But I only had to play that one for a little bit. It just feels and plays a lot like Metroid. Now, Death's Gambit, on the other hand, it's also very similar to Metroid in the sense that you're in a giant open world, but this is a curated world. It's not, it's not one of these like randomly generated worlds. They're building this entire thing. It's about 60-70% done as far as the world goes. What's that?
I was just making a note to call Angie.
Oh, I'm making a note. Better call her and ask her about but, since it's a giant open world, you play through the game, side scroller. It's kind of brutal. It's Norway and, or actually, it's Norway, Himalayas, right? Nepal, something like that.
Yeah.
Nepal, yeah. It's cold mountains and everything like that. Anyway, as you play through it, you unlock things, you get new power-ups, you come back to other places, or you come back and now you have access to new places, so you can retrace your steps just like in Metroid and all that sort of thing. But I think the gameplay is looking good, the idea is looking good, and hell, that game just looks amazing to me. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So.
It was what I found interesting about that game is that it was made in wasn't it Game Maker that they used to make that game?
Yeah, which is probably one of the most simple. I mean, that's the same thing they're using for Hyper Light Drifter. It lets you get in there and make your games quickly and easily. It doesn't require a lot of scripting. Or some scripting, but not a lot of actual hardcore programming. But, I mean, hell, if that's what gets the job done, it's all about getting your idea out there. I don't have a problem with it. There's a lot of people who demean people who use easier solutions. Or, people who are like...
Those guys are just pissed off that somebody else is making a game in a much more easier platform and it's a lot more fun than their game.
Yeah. So if you're someone out there who's talking down to people... Shut up and actually go do something that's better if you think you're so good.
Just remember, all of you guys who are complaining about that, there are people who had to reverse engineer an entire system just so they could turn around and program for it. Now, that was, 30 years ago? Mm-hmm. But still, that was the Atari, but who cares? Yeah. I'm just saying, shut up.
Yeah, the bottom line is the game going to be good or is it going to suck? And if it sucks, that's one thing. But if it's good, who cares what it was made? Who cares if it was made on a potato if it's fun? As long as you don't play it on that potato Xbox.
Yeah. That's what I was going to...
All right, Bombshell. We can talk about Bombshell for just a minute.
Bombshell. What is there to say about Bombshell?
Okay, Bombshell. Oh, this thing, yeah. So Bombshell, the
they
guys...
gave us toys.
Okay, listen, they're going to hate me for this, but I think I like the guys at 3D Realms better than I like the game. Bombshell is made in Unreal Engine 3. It's their last Unreal Engine 3 game, and they've mostly made first-person games. In this game, they pull back to an isometric, area. The camera, the way they described it was, I think, perfect. It's like the Mario 64 camera, as in you don't need to move it ever, but you can move it if you want to see all the way around you. You're a girl who's a bombshell. You run around and shoot aliens and get power-ups. There's an RPG element where you can upgrade things and all that.
She also has a bionic right arm.
Yeah.
Her name's Shelly.
Shelly?
Shelly Bombshell.
It's clever.
That's a code name.
It was fun. To me, it felt like another game. Big bosses, just they go for the badass whole. It's like the badass thing. What do you think?
Yeah.
The bosses on this game are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're cool.
The one that they had in the video was she's this tall, and it was like this, and there were two of them, and then they merged together, and they got even bigger, and she still blew the crap out of them, blew them up. But and they said that there was one boss that is like the size of a planet or something along those lines. I'm like, are you serious? What? Be a little speck and dot thing. I don't know. Anyway, it was interesting. It's a top-down shooter game. It's not quite. It's if you take Diablo, cross it with a sci-fi action game, and then
maybe a little bit of Crusader No Remorse, but way faster paced.
Yeah, but then cross it with Mario, as you said. And that's just because the camera work was really, really interesting. I was really impressed with how it manipulated and moved around, and then zoomed in, and it was all in engine, so it wasn't like cut to a cut scene. It was just like, we're in a cut scene, and suddenly the camera's here and moving around and over here.
I felt like it was a game that required a bit of thinking because you're upgrading your weapons and doing special moves and that sort of thing, disguised as a game that requires no brains.
So it's not like a popcorn munchie. It's like maybe something a little bit more substantive, maybe like a bag of trail mix with M&Ms. Munchie.
Yes, a bag of trail mix with M&Ms.
Still.
Eloise, let's just move on. I'm not gonna. I'm probably like 3 out of 10 as far as me looking forward to actually getting the final copy. I think it's gonna be.
It won't work.
It's gonna be cool, and some people are gonna play it, and it's just not my style of game. Even though it's cool, I would prefer them to make another first-person shooter, just not another Duke Nukem.
Well, let's talk about some of the other things that we got to do not on Indie Day. And you guys went, I didn't get here till Friday night, but you guys went on Friday and saw VR.
Before we get into this, I'm sorry. I just want to mention this. I can't remember the name of the game because I've been drinking a little bit, but the Mazer spaceship.
Star Mazer.
Star Mazer.
Oh, Star Mazer!
I'm not even going to touch this other than the fact that I'm actually looking forward to this because of the procedural generation that was created to make this game. It's a point-and-click adventure shmup, which a shmup is... I honestly don't even remember what it stands for. I really don't. I just know I reminded me of Life Force and Gradius and was it Gradius 2,
R-Type, all those games,
R-Type, all those things from way back when we were younger. Or UN Squadron, yeah. And it was, your side-scrolling fighter, you're shooting things, but
then all of a sudden...
and then you finish a mission, and then you're in a point-and-click adventure.
Like Loom or any of the old LucasArts games or whatever.
One of the details that was really neat was when you're in the shmup version, all of the bullets that are coming out of your ship, all the stuff that's flying at you, the opponent that you're trying to go in and interact or fight or whatever, there is a full line of the underlying procedural engine that is operating under all of those elements. So maybe you're flying along and somebody decides that you need to not shoot right now, and they're going to hack into your ship and shut your shooting ability down. So suddenly your gun jams, and you're like, oh crap. And then you're going to have a dialogue with the guy that you're flying against.
Yeah, and the dialogue trees are completely dynamic.
That was it. He said
there's no tree. They're generated by what you do.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a whole snazzy video that goes in, and we just let the dev, who has got more enthusiasm and emotion tied into this than anyone I've ever met, and it was inspiring. Mm-hmm. It was so inspiring. I was just like, I can't even interrupt this guy. This is wow. So,
he doesn't even need to breathe to talk.
He doesn't. I think
he's a robot.
He's just pulling it in his ears, and it was amazing. The dude's awesome.
So we want to toss you guys, let you know that we did check out some VR. Actually, these guys did because I wasn't in town just yet, and those are going to be in standalone videos, correct?
Yeah, we already have a couple standalone videos out here. We're just going to, a lot of people are just going to watch this video and miss a lot of the other ones, but I'm going to encourage you guys to watch the VR video because VR is kind of, it's really freaking sucked. For the most part.
We all know that I've had no positive thing to say about VR.
I think people get way too excited about this crap.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue has always been VR is, you're either sitting down and you're doing something. And the only way I think it would really work is if you're racing. You're in anything where you sitting down, or flight sims, anything where you're sitting down and having to interact with objects that would be in your virtual environment, that would work. Because you start getting up and walking around, like first-person shooters, I can't even... Unless I'm driving a car and I'm firing a gun off the top of the thing, because then I have a steering wheel in front of me, and that makes sense. I'm in a virtual world, I've got the steering wheel, I can see it, maybe I've got a glove on or something, I don't know. Or I've got maybe a leap motion that can spatially aware what's going on. It reminded me of the experience we had at Computex with Paul, where I kicked his ass at that game.
I was sandbagging.
That was a virtual reality game, but the spatial awareness was there. So not only was I standing in the middle of this virtual world, if somebody were to move into my space, they would show up in-game, which was creepy and weird.
It's because you use the Kinect.
Because they were using the Kinect, so it gave a spatial awareness thing. Some of the other VR stuff we saw was great, because it enabled you to be inside a virtual environment, and it was spatially aware of where you were with the walls. I was told that if you walk up next to one of the walls, it would know that you're next against the wall, and we'd have like the blue force field kind of thing that would show up. And you're like, sorry, you're too far away out of, you need to go back the other way, otherwise you'll bump into the wall. Though I did have an issue where you had a couple of little wands in the one, and
they'll fix that.
They barely touched together. But my issue was, I wanted to look at one in the VR world, so I slapped myself in the visor, the VR visor, because I'm like, that
brings me back to the main reason that I say most of these suck, because you're wearing a freaking truck on your head, and it's just like,
that's true.
They're impractical for use in the home, and that's why you see the big ridiculous, like, come check this out at this PAX, or come check it out at Gamescom, because that's about as long as you can tolerate wearing that freaking thing. I know some guys stream and they wear it all night playing Eve, or they wear it all night playing whatever game.
Elite,
yeah. I was looking at fishing for Elite, but we should probably let them just see the video.
Some people, when they're playing those games, they get motion sickness from it.
Yeah.
When I was playing like Team Fortress with the Oculus, that
was a terrible demo.
Yeah, it was a terrible demo. But when I took it off, I was disoriented. When in this one, when we were in the
Talking about the Vive, right? HTC Vive.
With the Vive, yeah. When I had it on, I was oriented to my space. I was appropriately off the ground, so I didn't feel like I was somewhere else. Granted, I couldn't see my feet or my arms, but I could see the controllers that I was holding, and I could walk around and do some stuff. But when I took it off, I didn't feel disoriented. It was suddenly went from blinding bright inside the VR headset to the dimly lit room that we were in. But other than that, it didn't disorient me at all. Even when we sat down with the Rift in the other room and I was playing, what did she say? It was the Valkyrie, the Eve Valkyrie game, it was done with a controller, but it
Valkyrie?
was Valkyrie.
We won't even.
Watch the video.
Valkyrie.
Anyway, yeah, that one I didn't get disoriented when I took it off. But then again, I was also sitting down and I'm flying a ship, so...
You guys should watch our video on that. We have another video that's separate from that one that I think is even cooler about augmented reality, where you put on a very lightweight pair of glasses. It's going to get even more lightweight. I'm trying to be succinct here. And you're able to look at a table, and it projects from your head onto the table, the game world, and the applications for this are ridiculous. I'll give you one quick thing that they're working on, maybe, possibly. We're not 100% sure. But
they would not confirm nor deny anything.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a D&D world where we're all sitting around the table, and Paul is the dungeon master over there controlling everything, and I'm the elf, so I have night vision.
Why do you get to be the elf with night vision?
You're
I'm
the
one
elf
with night vision.
Fine, I'm the bombshell with the left arm made out of adamantium or something. Anyway, so we're all in a dungeon, and then Paul decides that it's really dark in this room. Well, all of us are looking at the same world, and we're all having our own individual projections of this world. I'm the only one who can see in the dark, so I get to see things. And he can send maybe you or her a secret, so that she sees a gleaming thing on the wall. That kind of stuff. You can actually sit around and play D&D, and then we can have like little tokens or something, and they'll sit in the world, and because of the fancy technology, it knows where it is, and there'll be a character basically on top of it, and you can move it around and do stuff with it. Mm-hmm. Those are the kind of applications we're looking for. So it's like the next evolution of augmented reality and the next evolution of tabletop gaming, and it supports networking, so we can do this from multiple places. I have a friend in Vermont, I can have a friend here, and I have a friend in Belgium, all playing on the same RPG on the tabletop. That's going to be freaking amazing.
That was the most exciting thing I think we did.
I think so too. It might have been.
And we get a whole video on this, right?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Good.
So
I won't tell you much more, but it's everything else I want to say will be in that video. It's amazing.
Speaking of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, we checked out Sword Coast Legends, and that's going to be a standalone that you can check out on the channel. But we'll say a little bit about it here.
Yeah, because we actually experienced that. We went through a game together. I interviewed the developer, and you guys watched that. But I think I was the dungeon master, and it's a game that it's got like a 40-hour single player campaign, or up to 4 players in co-op. But the gameplay is exactly like Baldur's Gate. That's pretty much, or Pillars of Eternity, or any of those type of games.
Neverwinter Nights.
Neverwinter Nights. But this is probably the successor to Neverwinter Nights spiritually. And I mean that in the sense that you have a dungeon master who can create a world, who can create a town, who can create dungeons, a campaign, and then put players through it and be there with you, like doing things, creating new characters, throwing things, making traps. So that's what we did. We played through it. I was a dungeon master and goofed off with it and had a ton of fun.
Made some
and bothered these two.
Made some oddly shaped furniture that did fun things.
An ugly chair.
So I made the chair of ugly.
+5.
+5, yeah. When you click on it, it was like and then they were like, and you can also have when you click on it, that gives you another message. So when you click on it, it was like, this is fucking ugly. and then
yeah, it was.
The best part was like. The best part of the entire thing was I trapped the damn thing, and I was like, oh, no one is going to be able to resist this thing because it's so stupid, and I put it in the pathway.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Kane.
Go around it.
Yeah, I was like, Kane, did you find my chair? And he's like, yes, goddamn you. I put a spear trap in it.
It didn't set it off, but I didn't disarm the trap either.
Right.
Just saying, my super wizard powers were strong.
That's only silly we're giving away. You got to check out some of the other funniness we did with Sword Coast Legends. Our dungeon master visited on us in that game.
You got to be succinct on this one, especially because. Well, I just want to plug the video because the video is long and Battletech.
All right, so it's just you said it, Battletech. I've been a Battletech fan since I was knee high, and it was kind of interesting because I was like, Battletech, this would be awesome. It was harebrained screams.
You keep saying harebrained screams. They need to make.
They did. They said
they need to make some horror games.
Their horror game genre is going to be harebrained screams. Anyways, harebrained schemes. I really need to stop.
You just talked to Jordan.
Harebrained schemes
and
Daniel.
And
I had a chit chat with Jordan Weissman and Mike, and I can't remember his last name because I've been drinking. Anyway, we talked to these guys about Battletech. It's going to be kickstarted. They're going to start it next month. Mm-hmm. And by next month, I mean, I think it's
turn-based, man.
It's going to be a turn-based tactics game. I said it's going to be the way they described it, it reminded me of the way the story played out in the original MechWarrior. Mm-hmm. But then it's going to be more of a strategy tactics in a top-down. I asked a lot of really snazzy questions. It's not going to be like a grid or a hex grid kind of thing. It's going to be like a 360 fluid game, and that's what they want to make, and it's going to be kickstarted. So
yeah, go check out that video.
Yeah,
put money into that.
Also, my personal little yay happy moment was when we discovered King's Quest, and this game is out already, and they got some really big stars actually to do the voice acting on it. The art is really beautiful. We got some of that.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Lloyd
plays the old version of Graham.
Yeah, and so yeah, my nostalgia bubble was definitely filled.
Yeah, so go check out that video. And the main reason that I would like to mention something like this is it's an interesting adventure game. It's getting really good reviews, and you know, it's been such a long time since the originals came out, with like 1980 something, 80.
I think the first one came out in like late 80s.
Yeah, the last one in mid 90s. I think.
Yeah, like 97, 98.
Yeah, and not a lot of people have played these games as as far as the newer generations go. They're really interesting adventure games, a lot of lore in there, and they're funny too. They're not afraid to make fun of themselves and the whole genre, the whole high fantasy genre. So it's getting really good reviews, but I was like, how's the sales? And they're like, I don't know, it's not so good.
I think it's just because nobody really knows what it is. I mean, it is a point and click adventure type game. What I thought was really fascinating about this was the art styling, and that they actually have somebody hand painting the backgrounds, hand painting the characters, and then they scan that in. Yeah, and then they scan that into the Unreal Engine and slap it down on top of the characters. It was like, what?
Yeah, it's one of the most interesting looking games. I've never seen a game like it, as far as the style goes.
That's true. Anyway, there's a video on that. It's gonna be awesome.
And
finally,
we've covered that pretty much.
Yeah. So I guess how was everybody's indie experience at PAX? I think we had a really good time.
Yeah, I would.
Nice.
I was actually, okay, I'm going to be frank, I wasn't looking forward to PAX because I'm not sure if the PAX people know exactly who we are or not, but it's always difficult to get approved for PAX, that's number one. And then, it's a bit stricter of an environment compared to Gamescom. We got there and it was like the royal treatment there, here's your parking pass.
I wouldn't even call it the royal treatment. I think that...
They just treated it like
I want to touch on that, the comparison, just because...
I hope PAX invites us, allows us to come back next year, but we're going to tell the fucking truth.
So when we went to Gamescom, we had to go through the same accreditation process. We had to fill out all the paperwork. We had to send it all in. We had to say, yes, we are who we are. This is what we're going on. This is our site. This is the kind of traffic we have. This is all the press credentials that you normally have. And then when we got there, they sent us a PDF of the badges that we have that we had to present moving in and out of the event. And they even gave us a parking pass. So we had like we got to priority
park in a priority parking lot for the press, so
which was great. I mean, like, wow, at least then we can get there. Now, also in that note, we were there during the press day, and there was like 75,000 people there just for the press day, which we were like, wow, this is not bad. This is kind of busy, but this is not bad.
Yeah, the next day,
the next day when they had closer to 400,000 people, it was just like,
press day was about the size of PAX.
But one of the things that they do differently than just in the badge functionality than they do here is they send us the badge, but there's a barcode on it. So every single time you'd enter or exit the floor, they would scan you in and scan you out. So there's actually a centralized system scanning when you left and when you got there and left. So you could make 10 copies of it, but if you were inside, they're like, sorry, you're already here, so you can't scan
you can't run your badge out and get more people
in. Which means that you got to be careful when you leave. If you want to duck out to go to the bathroom, don't just sneak out. Get scanned out, because you can't get back in otherwise.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like that system. I love the fact that they sent us all the stuff ahead of time. PAX... Look at these things. We had a lot of trouble getting in, and we do every year. It's like we have trouble getting in, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. We have trouble getting approved. Like, who are you guys again? I'm like, guys, we've covered PAX 40 times. Come on.
Even Comic-Con sends you the badges to get in ahead of time, and even that the Comic-Con badges that I went to in New York last year, those badges had a RFID tag, so you actually had they RFID buzzed you in every single time you entered into the floor.
And parking is difficult downtown, so I'm not going to complain about the lack of priority parking for press, because it was the area in Cologne is much larger for parking, and I know downtown Seattle is pretty much impossible, so I'm not going to complain about that. But I will complain about just how differently the experience was for both of us going to Germany than all of us going here to PAX. Totally different experience. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anyway, other than that, I freaking loved it. I wasn't sure about it, for a while. I was kind of down about it because of all the experience of, back and forth with all the emails and trying to prove who we were. I got there and I'm like, it's probably my favorite North American gaming event. Better than E3, for sure. Better than PAX East,
I was really impressed with the fact that even Uber stepped up and got a fleet of Mad Max themed cars to.
Well, I don't think it was Uber. I'm sure the Mad Max people paid Uber to do it. But
regardless, but Uber was the one who was catering. Yeah. But they were not just on display. These are vehicles that you could request and get in. And I checked this out as I was coming back here today. Is that if you switched over to the Mad Max and they were not available, it just said Marauders were blocking your path.
That's clever.
I was like, damn it, Marauders.
Clever.
Run over there.
The Mad Max cars cost extra?
They probably don't cost extra, but they probably cost about the same. But even then, they're very limited in quantity. It was more like a first come, first serve. But regardless, I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else that was going on. I did get a chance to go and check out The Division, which is like the only AAA game that I even cared about because I'm a big Tom Clancy fan. But I went and checked that out, and I was really annoyed that the entire booth was all on Xbox. I'm like, I had a difficult time playing, and it was like they're hit A, and I'm like, what? Which A is which? What? I couldn't. They
don't build new booths between E3 and PAX Prime. They just take the same booth they had at E3 to PAX Prime most of the time.
They should not have had it on an Xbox anyway. That's my opinion.
I think it was designed with Xbox in mind first, and then PC in mind second, which is the problem here. Which is the problem we get with a lot of these games. The developers out there, or publishers, not developers. The PC is an extremely viable market, and DRM is not your friend. There, I'm going to get off the soapbox thing.
Okay. Also, I want to point out, I'm not here to replace Pistol on WASD. She will be back at some point in regularly scheduled WASD content. This is just the special PAX edition of the show.
Yep. And,
before any whiny babies go off in the comments about, oh my god, he's been drinking.
That's everyone. Yeah, we've had that before. Where like we'll have a girl somewhere. We'll have something, and they'll be like, Pistol, and it's like, no, that's not Pistol. Yeah. There's more than one girl in the universe who plays games, and I think it's really cool that a lot of them are part of our audience.
On that
our
note,
audience is pretty respectable. You guys are good.
Yeah,
I saw
usually.
I would say somewhere between 50 and 60% of the audience that was running around PAX were women. Just on that note.
Yeah, it was awesome. Anyway, I think that wraps us up nicely. Thank you for joining us on this special PAX edition of WASD.
We weren't nearly drunk enough for this.
No.
Nope.
I only have 5.8%.
You just dropped the bomb.
Come on while I'm drinking.
All right, guys. Bye. Go watch other videos.
See you guys later.